All right, everyone, welcome back to another Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing another episode of Podnutz, a computer repair podcast. This will be show 115. As soon as I check the feed, we will get started. All right. Wow, that was super duper quick. All right.
I think they've really done something to lower that lag.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. Very cool. Very cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And hit the recording. My other recording. All right. Welcome to Podnutz, Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 115. I am Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. And we'd appreciate any calls that you guys, if you have a question or just want to contribute, please call that number, and we'll get you on the air. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Chris Carruthers from the Remote Support Tech team. How you doing, Chris?
I'm pretty good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's wintertime, and I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying being inside.
Exactly. That's what I meant. Yeah, I don't go outside unless I have to.
Yeah.
Also, we're joined by our special guest today is Ken Dwight, who calls himself the Virus Doctor. How you doing, Ken?
I'm great, Jeff. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Good to have you on the show. You know, I like to have an expert in an area that knows their stuff, and you definitely, from talking to you over the last few months and watching some of your stuff and taking some of your classes, you definitely are the Virus Doctor.
Well, thank you. As they say, I wrote the book on viruses. It's out of print, but I wrote
it. And they're always changing and growing, so yes. I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that. Well, I guess what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start off with some emails. We've got some follow-up emails and some regular emails. So here we go with that. I had a question in the forums as well as emailing you, Jeff. Just wanted to thank you for your assistance. Keep up the informative and entertaining Podnutz shows. Thanks for the responses. I had a boot disk with Gparted, which included Test Disk, which I was unaware of. Test Disk is one of the programs we actually told him about to run. He said I ran Test Disk and he rebooted the Gparted disk, but the drive could not be mounted. Don't recall the exact error message. I then boot with the Trinity Rescue disk to see if there were any utilities on that disk that would be of any use. There was a utility that would mount and unmount drives. I ran that, but was unfamiliar with the utility, so I did not know if it had any effect. The last boot disk I ran was the Ultimate Boot CD for Windows. That disk had the ESIS Partition Recovery Program. Upon running that program, the previously unrecognized drive was showing as active. I was able to copy all the files over to my C drive as a precaution, but it appears a partition table was restored and all the data accessible again. Data saved and backed up. Jack Kaplan. Well, thank you for the follow-up, Jack. We appreciate that. That was the issue where he had erased a partition on his drive and he was trying to get it back. And it sounds like, even though we might have led you in the right direction, Jack, it sounds like you basically went over and above and found a tool that would actually do what it needed to do for your situation. So that's awesome. And hopefully that will help somebody else out there too. We also have another one. It says, "Hi, Jeff. I recently found your show and really enjoy listening. I've become interested in computer repair and would like some advice, please. I'm 43 and would like to learn computer repair along with my 10-year-old son. We'd like to putz around together on laptops and things. And to start with, I would like to learn how to tune up a computer, remove viruses, malware, and some laptop hardware repair. First, where is a good place to start to learn how to do these things? I found a lot of great info online, but do you recommend a particular site or learning center? Also, where's a good place to get old, broken, beat-up laptops that we can practice on? I'm wary of using eBay and Craigslist. Are those the best places to find laptops that are in need of repair? Thank you in advance for any advice that you can give me." And that was from Adam C. Thank you, Adam, for that email. I basically had sent him a reply back with, several websites of, varying degrees that talked about, maybe tools and different things that do tune-ups and stuff on a computer to kind of get started. Obviously, Ken's got a webinar coming up here pretty soon. Those types of things I let him know about so that he can take advantage of learning. But really, the reality is, I think we all started learning from just kind of doing it, and there's only so much you can read, but really you've got to take those laptops or computers and just start fixing them up, start seeing what does what, and how things work. Get as deep into it as you want to, or keep it as simple as you want to, but just remember it's a learning process. And there is a lot of information on the line, and a lot of that information is not necessarily good information, but there's a lot. So definitely pick and choose what you read, and just take it with a grain of salt, and just go out there and do it. And I told him, as far as buying like off of eBay or any of these other places, those are probably the best places to get broken things for real cheap that you can actually take and see if you can fix it, hardware wise or even software wise.
Jeff, another place he might check. There are Salvation Army, Goodwill, and stuff like that. They have their resale shops, and usually what's in there is actually working and real cheap. And it would be doing them a favor to get, even if it's $25 for a computer that then you could play with, take apart, replace different components, stuff like that.
Oh, that's a great tip. I didn't even think about that. You're exactly right. Yeah, it's one of the places I forgot about. Very good.
More reputable than Craigslist, too.
Yes. That's the only problem with Craigslist sometimes, is that people can be kind of flaky on there. So you got to pick and choose and stay local.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think?
I think that going to those secondhand / charitable stores are a good idea. There's actually one not too far from here that has an electronics section. You can pick through there and find the occasional laptop or desktop or part that you can play around with. But I always went with eBay. It was just the easiest for me, and buying something off of eBay, you have all the consumer protection and all that involved. So for me, that was a safer bet than Craigslist or something else like that.
Gotcha. And what do you think about as far as him starting up messing around with computers with his 10-year-old son, which I told him was great. I said, if something you and your son can do together, I said, that's awesome.
That's great, because they're doing it with their own equipment, and it's a great way to get started, and it's a great way to learn. When I was in high school, the way that I got started is when the school was getting rid of all of their old computers and replacing them with new ones. We were out in the country. We didn't have an electronics recycling program, so they were being shipped to the dump. We just packed them up in the back of the pickup truck and took them home, and that's just ripped apart 13 computers to build 4 good ones. Right, so get your hands dirty. That's the only way you're going to learn.
Exactly.
Jeff, one more thing that I would recommend. I'm still a big believer in A+ certification. It's fairly basic certification, but that really covers a lot of bases. And you don't have to spend thousands of dollars in 6 months or a year going through school. There's plenty of online learning and books about it. It costs a couple $100 to take the exam, but even if they don't take the exam, having that foundation, I think, is really useful information.
That's another good tip. Yeah, it's something that, because a lot of us have been around for such a long time, it's not necessarily something we think of. But you're right. The information that is in there, especially when you're first starting off, will definitely help a brand new tech get a better understanding of what they're doing. And we kind of look at it, that's a little simplified, but I think it's better than that. I think there's definitely some there's definitely some good things to that. So yeah, that's a great tip. Good.
I do believe in the A+ certifications. I don't like the CE, but the continued education. See, we got our A+ way before all of this happened, but now if somebody gets their A+ now, they have to retake the test every 4 years to keep themselves certified. I think it's 4 years. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But really, when you're taking an exam and one of the questions on there is how do you hold a CRT monitor, and D was sling it over your shoulder and hold it by the cables, that's a little bit much, I think.
I'm sorry, what's a CRT monitor?
And I can't remember the last time I needed to know the default IRQ for LPT1. But
yeah. Yeah, you know, I know we've talked about this before, but sometimes when people are just starting off nowadays, they don't have all the fun things that, you know, some of us have went through, you know, for myself 15 plus years ago, you know, dealing with, you know, IRQs and stuff like that. What is that?
I remember when there were only 16 of them.
Oh my gosh, wow.
See, and I understand the concept of an IRQ, but I've never had to manually set any of them.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, you know, because I was a gamer, even back then, and I would want to plug in all these peripherals to my computers. I basically had to know, you know, what the IRQs were and where to point my devices to, because if not, it was very easy to get a conflict back then.
Yeah.
You had with serial ports. It was before USB.
Yes.
Yep.
Serial ports, parallel ports, yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember my first Microsoft Sidewinder. It was a joystick, had a nice hat switch on the top. It had the, you know, it was cool. It had a nice big base on it, but that was actually a serial port that you had to plug in the back of. And back then, the serial port for that controller was actually on the sound card.
Yeah, that was pretty common.
So yeah, I definitely remember that. And then I think I was able to get an adapter for that and actually plug in the USB after that. So
originally, with my first IBM PC in 1982, it had a serial port on a separate card, and it was a 25-pin connector.
Oh,
later they went to the 9-pin connector.
Okay. It made it a little more simplified.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. All right, so let's see. And just a follow-up from Adam, after I'd sent him an email, here's what he said. He said, "Hi again, Jeff. Thank you very much for the quick response. I'm finding all the info online quite overwhelming and not sure where exactly to start, but we'll keep plugging away. My son and I are very excited to continue and learn and get a couple broken laptops to start practicing on. Thanks again for the info. I really appreciate you taking the time to write such a long response." I don't know that it was that long, but he replied, Adam C. So thank you again, Adam, and hopefully some of this information that you know, Chris and Ken have brought will also help you out in your endeavors. So keep plugging away. This is from, let's see, Joshua. It says, "Hello, my name is Joshua, and I recently got hired as a bench tech at a local IT support and PC repair store. I'm finishing my last week with my previous employer and trying to read and learn as much as I can before I start. Podnutz has been an awesome resource and has helped me to understand the current IT field. PC repair has been a hobby of mine for many years, but I did not have the confidence to apply for a job until I started taking computer support classes at a local college. Take care and thanks, Joshua." Awesome. Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate that. That's what we're here for, hopefully to help you guys out. It says, "Hello, Jeff. I've been a long-time listener. Today we came across this awesome tool that I wanted to share with the Podnutz community. The tool has a lot of potential. You should contact the developer and have him introduce his tool on the show." And here's the link, and it's the Windows Repair All-in-One tool. Keep up the good work, and that is from Juan. Juan, the one thing I wanted to say is, you know, and that's fine. The more the merrier to come on the show and talk about their tools and different things. The easiest way to probably do that is if the listeners, because I only have so many hours in a day, could actually take the time and actually write an email to these developers and just have them get in contact with me, and then I can take it from there and set up a time that we can do a show, and you know, they can come on and talk about their product. That would be awesome. Are you guys familiar with the Windows Repair All-in-One tool?
And not by that name. Is that TechWaru or is it a different product?
It's the tweaking.com one. It's been popular. Probably a lot of people have been started using it over the last, you know, few months. I would say maybe 6 months or so. I started using it about 6 months ago.
Okay, I know of tweaking.com, but I've not checked out the products at all.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one either.
Okay, so it's one of the tools that's actually in my suite of D7.2, and I will use it if I come across something that I've just dug so far down that it's still not running correctly, and something's just not right, and I definitely will run that tool as as one of the last resorts. And I know the other tool beyond that, if this doesn't work, then I have to go to Ken's favorite tool, Combo.
You're not going to say it.
And I rarely use that tool anymore, but it has helped me out a couple times. So
there goes Jeff using the C word on air again.
We love our no. Combo Fix is a very powerful tool. It's just also on the other side of the coin, it's a very dangerous tool and can hose your system. So
oh yeah.
So definitely take care with that. But yeah, the Windows Repair all-in-one tool, I have never seen any bad side effects from it, and it's one of those ones that I will use every once in a while. So thank you again for that information, Juan. Let's see, and it says, hey Jeff, I love listening to your podcast on computer repair. I purchased a Technibble package and Lisa's books based on your recommendation. You said that Google AdWords works well for you. I'm in the Atlanta area. What keywords would you recommend? And basically, I took my, and this is from Rick. Thank you, Rick. I took my keywords that I use in my Google AdWords for my local area and basically sent Rick a list of those keywords. And, so hopefully that will help him out there. And I told him there was probably really, out of the Google AdWords keywords, there's probably only 10 that will actually get me a click, which means somebody will actually click on it and go to my website. And from there they can call me or, message me or whatever. So even though I have 379 keywords, most of them get little to no traffic at all. And are you guys familiar with keywords or Google AdWords at all?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do either one of you use it at all, or?
No.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah. I started using it a few weeks ago. I've spent I have spent $60.92 on Google AdWords in the last 4 days, and it's made me around $300.
Very nice.
Pretty good.
So I can't complain about that.
Right. No, that's good. In your business is, my business is more local, so I keep to the local area. But obviously, since you're a white label service, you spread your stuff out more to everywhere.
Yeah, U.S. and Canada.
Very good. Okay. Very good.
And it's not that I'm against it. It's just one of those things I haven't gotten around to.
And isn't that the way it is? We run into all these things that, I want to do this, I want to do that, and we find that we don't have time, or we will take the time to do something else.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, that thing in my signature that I showed you there, Jeff, the scheduling tool that Lisa put me onto. I can't believe how much time that saved me. It's
because somebody can. So what Chris is talking about is he put a neat little link in his email where he basically can, if somebody wants to get more information about his service, they basically can click the link, go there, find an open day and time that he has, click on it, and it will put the appointment in your calendar. Correct, Chris?
Yeah, and it syncs with, like, I have it synced with my Office 365 because I use that for my Exchange. So it automatically puts it into my Outlook. If I put a manual appointment into Outlook myself, it takes that availability off of my online calendar, so people can't double book me. And it works with Google Calendar too, so there's lots of integration there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And it's funny how stuff like that will actually save time, because you don't actually have to necessarily take the phone call to make an appointment to get back to that person, and it just makes it a lot smoother and a lot easier.
Oh yeah, giant time savings for sure.
Now, Ken, you don't use anything like that, do you?
Not really. Most of what I'm doing as far as scheduling is classes that are scheduled well in advance, and I register for those right on the website.
Okay, so that makes it definitely a little easier with doing stuff like that. Well,
it's kind of like the old thing of putting the boulders at the bottom and the pebbles in the sand, and so my boulders are the classes, and the pebbles are the broke fix stuff, and the sand is lunch meeting or whatever.
That's a great way to look at it. That's really good. Yeah, I love that analogy. I've seen different videos on that time and time again, and it is amazing.
I didn't come up with that myself.
Okay.
I'm the first one to use it.
It's been around
Someone's
for a
stealing
while.
your ideas.
Yeah, I'll have to sue them.
I think I've seen a couple college professors that have gone through that whole process teaching their students.
Yeah.
So, yeah, jam as much stuff in a jar as you possibly can, and you've got to do it in the right order. So that's good. Chris, is there anything that you've been working on this week that's just interesting?
I am in negotiations with a bunch of vendors right now, to be honest. Trying to set up partnerships that will benefit my clients more. Which next week I may have an announcement for. Who knows? Other than that, it's just dealing with the Cryptowall. Like Cryptowall seems to be doing another surge, so we're dealing with a lot of that. And just once again telling people, if you had done the backup that we told you to do like 3 weeks ago, this wouldn't be a problem.
Or 3 years.
What's that?
Or 3 years ago.
Right.
Oh yes.
Well, it's amazing, and I know that we've spoken about this before, but I'm going to touch on it again. It amazes me, completely amazes me that you can go to somebody, and it doesn't matter if it's a residential customer, business customer, and say, listen, like, what would happen if you lost all of these files? What if your computer caught fire right now, and all of this stuff was gone? They'd be like, well, I mean, I'd be able to get the pictures off my camera, and I'm pretty sure I have a thumb drive somewhere. And it's like, oh, well, that all sounds great if it's all true and takes all this time, or you could just, spend the $100 and back it all up, and then it's not a problem. And 3 weeks later, they're like, well, what do you mean you can't get my files back? I'm clicking on them and it's saying that I can't open the file. Well, yeah, that's because you got Cryptowall, and I told you that you needed a backup, and you didn't listen. And now it's your fault.
Yeah, there are police departments that have paid the ransom to get their files back.
Right.
Right.
Well, there are all these cases. That's all our evidence. And I'm thinking, well, what would happen if your computer got stolen? Which sounds pretty reasonable in those police departments.
Yeah. Sure. Why do the police not have a backup? That really bothers me. And you know whose fault it is at the end of the day, too, right? It's always our fault.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, if you had protected my computer better, then this wouldn't be a problem. Whoa! You can only do so. I'll tell you what. We're going to take you off the internet. You're going to be completely protected.
Exactly.
You won't have to worry about it anymore.
As long as you don't plug in any thumb drives.
That's right.
That's
right. We're going to disable all the USB ports, and we're going to make you go back to PS2 for your keyboard and mouse. Done.
Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, it's hard to tell people. As IT professionals, some of the things we try to do, especially for small businesses, we'll come in and we'll go, hey, here's the things that you need. No, I don't want to pay for that. Oh, okay.
Right.
And at the end, you're right. At the end of the day, though, they go, well, why didn't you? Wait a minute. Let me show you email number 2, where I outlined all the stuff that you needed, and let me show you what you said no to.
Yeah.
And if you had said
pretty much everything,
it wouldn't have been a problem. We would have had your stuff, and we would have had you up and running within a couple of hours, no problem. But no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and really, what you got to remember, and what some of this comes down to, for those who have been, following on Technibble with the new form software, there was a huge chain of posts, and the big part of it was, hey, I gave this guy this quote, and then he turned around and said, well, I got this other quote that's like half of your price, and none of the hardware or software was up to par with what they were being given. And they said, well, this guy's going to do it for half the price. And he said, well, what do I do? Should I bring the quote down? Like, how should I handle this, guys? And basically all of us, myself included, were like, no, don't lower your standards, because you don't want to be responsible for that. It's the customer's fault if they don't want to get the backup, but I'm not going to put in a subpar backup system. I'm not going to set them up with like an external hard drive that they have to plug in every other day. That doesn't make any sense to me, because they have critical business files that go in there every day. So just, the customers that you want are the customers who are willing to pay for the services that you're going to provide them. And if they don't want to pay, then they shouldn't be your customers. They're not worth it.
Right. No, exactly. And Ken, you can probably speak to this too, as far as the Cryptowall stuff. You plug in a drive, you have any network drive, and Cryptowall is going to attack that drive too, correct?
Any drive that has a letter, whether it's a network drive, a thumb drive, an external USB hard drive, whatever. If it's got a drive letter, the appropriate file types are going to get encrypted. And appropriate file types means pretty much anything they're interested in. You know, their photos or documents or spreadsheets or databases. Won't encrypt the EXEs or DLLs or the programs themselves, but any of their data files, if they care about them, are probably going to get encrypted.
Yeah, we're at the point now where PSC files are getting hit, QuickBooks and Simply Accounting files are being encrypted now too. So it's getting nasty.
Yeah. And the thing that I just keep coming back to is basically we're still in the first generation of encrypting ransomware.
Right.
Yeah.
They've just barely scratched the surface of what they can do and what I'm pretty sure they will do. And so, and even the virus doctor himself can't get those files back.
Right.
The infection itself is generally easy to get rid of. But as far as the files, encryption works, and they're doing it following best practices. When I wrote my book in 2005, that talked about encrypting ransomware. I mean, it's not a new concept. But back then it was pretty simplistic and pretty easy to decrypt and get the files back. But ever since CryptoLocker, and now we're up to Cryptowall 3.0 as of last week, almost all of those use best practices in encryption. You're not going to crack it.
Yep.
So backups are not the only solution. The other solution is to pay the ransom. And so far, in spite of what you'll hear some law enforcement agencies say, I've never heard of a case where somebody paid the ransom and did not get their files back.
Okay.
All these guys have made the business decision that if you pay the ransom, yeah, we'll give you your files back. Now, that's not to say that another one might not come out tomorrow. They just take the money and run. And you're dealing with criminals here, so there's no guarantees. But the point is, most people, their data, especially a business, is worth a whole lot more than what the demand is for ransom today.
Yeah.
But
well, and let's be honest though. I mean, if anybody who wants to make money off of these, Cryptowall, CryptoLocker, they're not likely to stop allowing you to decrypt after paying. Specifically because as soon as word gets out that, hey, you know what, it's actually not doing it anymore, here's a screenshot, then nobody's going to pay up. You're just going to deal with the fact that your data's gone.
One of the things that surprises me about that is, Kenny corrected me about this a couple months ago, but one of the things that I had thought about, and this was just my own thinking, was that, okay, so the last time with CryptoLocker, all the servers they got by the FBI, they basically got, they got taken back and they were able to, make some encryption keys and stuff like that and make it work. But I started thinking about it. I go, so where are these servers at? Because if I'm afraid of law enforcement coming and getting my servers and grabbing me and putting me in jail, I'm really surprised that they're still putting that stuff out there, because not everything is untraceable. It will always lead back to somewhere.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm sure has already started happening, and I'm absolutely sure if it hasn't, it's going to, and that is that those keys won't be kept on their servers. They'll be kept on some of the infected machines that are part of the botnet.
Yeah.
And for that matter, so far, I want to talk about first generation, there's one set of keys. Basically, they have one computer that has that private key on it, and they may have it replicated across the network in multiple places in case that computer gets taken down. But they could just as easily spread it across 10 or 100 or 1,000 computers. And so there's just so many things they can do to make it so much more impossible to get back. And I don't use the word impossible very often, but that's a case that a brute force decryption of these things is, for all practical purposes, impossible, even with as simplistic as it is today. And there's so many simple little things they can do to make it so much stronger, so much more difficult, that these are going to be with us for a long time.
And so, in saying that, what are some of the best practices that we can do on our side to prevent us from getting something like Cryptowall?
Well, the obvious stuff, but here again, a lot of it's not coming through the obvious methods. Obvious when I say you've got to have antivirus, internet security, firewall, that type of stuff. Be careful about what you click on, what links you go to, that sort of thing. But so much of it is done through infected websites now that, especially with Cryptowall 2.0, they infected these ad servers that place the ads in AOL.com and Match.com and Yahoo.com, where somebody opens their normal homepage to go to Yahoo and they get infected. They don't have to click on anything. They don't have to open an attachment. The ad servers have been infected in a way, and they've manipulated the SEO to get those up to the top slot to appear on that particular page. And that, to a certain extent, a good internet security program with malicious website blocking will pick up on that and prevent those.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the way a lot of these work, they're coming through in ways that are not even visible to the antivirus companies and products. So there are some additional products that kind of close those holes, but there again, it's just a matter of time before the bad guys find ways around those.
Yeah. Yeah, like right now, we're using our managed service plan stuff. So we have GFI with the managed antivirus running on there. We have Nick Shaw's Crypto Prevent, and we have the web filtering to filter out known attack sites and the like. And that seems to be very effective right now. The challenge is keeping up with everything. Like Cryptowall 3.0, I don't have to change a whole lot on how we're dealing with everything because it seems that the protections that are in place are doing it right now. But I mean, that could change a week from now, and we'll have to revamp the entire system if that happens. So it's something that you need to keep on top of. Or 5 minutes from now, yeah. If it happens in 5 minutes, then
then we're all screwed.
Well, and the other critical piece that I think everybody needs to be aware of is the importance of keeping programs like Flash and Java and Adobe Reader and all those up to date, because still a majority of those exploits are coming through known vulnerabilities in those programs.
That's a really good point. And for those who don't already do it, 9.8 is a great way to keep all of that stuff up to date. We use 9.8.1 as part of it. So thank you for bringing that up. That completely slipped my mind.
Well, also with GFI, at least with their Internet Security package, it does automatic updates of all those programs too.
It does do automatic updates. I find that 9.8 is better at slipstreaming it. And some of the errors that you get through Windows updates when you're installing Java updates and Flash updates don't really happen through 9.8. So it's like a second layer just to make sure that everything's done properly.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of times what I've seen in the past is that ransomware of any sort, might not be Cryptowall, it could be the FBI virus or whatever. A lot of that stuff, when I've actually found where the infection came from, it ended up being a Flash installer. Somebody went to update their Flash, and so they type in Flash or Adobe Flash or whatever, and you see some of the advertisements or things, and people click at the top, not thinking about it.
And driver updates.
Yep. Oh yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that if you go through a place like Ninite, then and I only say that because I interviewed those guys. But if you go through a place like exactly.
Okay.
But if you go through a place like that, then a lot of that you're getting. They've already gone through what their downloads are coming from, and they've already parsed all that stuff for you. So you can be a lot safer, doing it that way. But we as techs know about Ninite, but a lot of your end consumers they don't really know about it.
But that's why you're there for your customers, though. That's why you can offer a residential managed service plan and say, hey, listen, you got all this stuff going on, and this is really bad stuff, but we can take care of that for you, right? Can't 100% guarantee that you're not going to get it, but we're going to give you as many shields as we can.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of my customers, I mean, they will ask, and I'm sure, Ken, you've probably heard this too, is that they'll come in and they'll say, well, how can I not get this again? And I just have to be point blank honest with them and go, there's not 100% way to protect you. I said we can go with a managed service plan, which is going to better protect you, and probably, even if you do get an infection, it will be able to be taken care of right away.
Yeah.
Versus a lot of times what happens with these infections, people are infected for a long period of time and they don't even realize it, and they're just doing their day-to-day stuff.
Yep.
You talked about it, Ken, all the botnets and things that are out on the internet and just sitting there, basically moving information back and forth.
What usually happens when I get called in on a ransomware or a rogue type situation, that's very obvious, very much in your face. Get it cleaned up, and when I do, behind it, there's been other traditional malware that's been on there for months.
Yeah.
Right.
Or a year.
And they probably got a little pop-up, click here to update Java, click here to update Flash.
Yeah, and they just, the longer the stuff can stay on there undetected, the more money the bad guys are making. So they put a lot of effort into being undetectable, even by techs, but certainly by end users.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, one of the things I used to tell my customers, which Microsoft kind of screwed this up for me, is that I used to tell them that if you have a big pop-up in the middle of your screen, don't click on it. You know, go to your start bar, shut your computer off, restart it, get back online, and you go about your business. You'll be fine. But they don't understand the difference between a pop-up that's right in the middle of your face versus the one that comes out of the right-hand corner. And so when I was telling people that, well, Windows 8.1, going from Windows 8 to 8.1, it would come up with this big banner across the middle of your screen. Update to Windows 8.1 now.
Yeah.
Go to the Windows Store. And I'm like going, are you kidding me? This is something I tell my customers not to do, and you're going to flash it up in front of everybody's face? You just screwed my whole way I do business up.
Yeah. Microsoft's good about that.
Well, between that and Security Essentials, I mean, like they were doing a good thing at first, right? But then, you know, when you let a product like that slide, it's like you just got rid of the only free option that was any good.
Yeah, yeah. Are you talking about for Windows XP? They've still got it out there.
No, they don't.
What's that?
Microsoft Security Essentials is no longer supported on Windows XP.
No, on Windows. That's why I said on Windows XP.
Oh, yeah, no, Microsoft Security Essentials is just not good anymore, period.
Right.
Gotcha.
Microsoft has said, hey, listen, you really don't want to use this. I mean, get it if you have to, but you should buy something.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's probably, if you're not going to keep up with it. Now, and that's probably because they've rolled into, well, it goes back to they're moving on. And so you have Windows Defender, which is already installed in Windows 8, which is basically a byproduct of Security Essentials. And I know they're still updating that one, but yeah, it's like all the other stuff they're just kind of leaving behind.
They're updating it, but they're not. Look, like there's a difference between updating it and actively, working on it. And they're not. They're not going to make Windows Defender anything really to use on its own ever.
Yeah.
And now, they're getting to the point where they're moving away from devices. They're moving away from a lot of the things that, the Windows 8 era was bringing in when they're moving into Windows 10. They want to get back to focusing on the sales of Windows and Office and back away from everything else that's frankly failing.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot to that. I've been running Windows 10 periodically. I've got an extra drive that I just throw on the top of my computer and I can boot up and it'll boot into Windows 10. I never actually did get in there to see if they actually had the Windows Defender antivirus on there or not. I don't know if anybody else knows that out there, but I'll definitely have to check that out because I'm curious. If they're going to not do anything with it, then I'd be surprised if they actually put it into their next user product.
I wouldn't be. I would be very surprised if they didn't because, I mean, if you need water and all you have is mud, you take the mud, So I mean, it's something, but it doesn't provide the type of protection that a paid software does, and that's just the way it's going to be. But they're not going to stop providing that free software. They're already keeping up with at least some things for it for Windows 8, Windows 7. So they're going to keep pushing it.
Well, here's the thing though. The reality is unless you hire somebody, an IT professional, to basically set your system up, here's what happens. Norton gives you 60 days or whoever, and after that 60 days, it's not really updating itself. And so here's what you have. You have a system after 2 months that has no working antivirus on it, and Windows Defender's not working because they can't run at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you can have that free product on there, but as long as you're selling to OEMs, it's not really going to matter.
No, you're right. And that, I mean, that does happen often enough that it's kind of scary to think how many people just ignore that pop-up. Because it's obvious that Norton, like there's a giant red X over it, and there's a big pop-up that says click here to. Oh wait, no, Jeff just got finished telling them not to click on those things, so I guess that's
right,
his fault.
Exactly. Don't click on that.
But really, we don't even wind up getting that phone call until it's like I can't get on the internet, and then you find out that it's because they have Norton 360 or Norton 365 or whatever it's called, and they're at the point now where the little proxy that Norton creates for itself to help filter everything going through isn't working properly because it hasn't been updated, so now they can't get on the internet because Norton's not letting them. Like, why am I getting this call now? Why didn't you call when you first started getting the pop-up?
Now, in going back to antivirus, so Chris, I know that because you use GFI, you're using their managed antivirus, and you prefer that, which is the Viper engine, and
Yes.
it seems to work really good. I've used Viper for years for cleanups and stuff. I've used Viper Rescue for a long time, and that was my kind of go-to tool. Ken, what types of antivirus out there today are what you would call better than, or what do you prefer, I guess, is the best way to put it?
Good question. Obviously, one that comes up a lot, and one doesn't have one answer anymore. There's like the two of you, I have liked and used and recommended and installed Viper over the years, actually since it first came out. And frankly, their detection isn't as good now as it was in the early days. But there are enough other good things about it that I like, and I still generally recommend it. I like a lot about MCSoft as well, which is not nearly as well known. But they have some really bright people, and they've done some good things. So I'm trying to move more toward MCSoft, but that's not 100% yet. And there are 3 or 4 others that I consider credible products that do a good job of protection. ESET does a good job. Bitdefender, Kaspersky. I'd say those are pretty much the 5 that I don't cringe when I see on somebody's system. The ones that are at the top of the list that I do are Microsoft Security Essentials and AVG.
Okay.
And AVG is like so many other things. It was great 10 years ago. It was adequate 5 years ago. It's not today, and I could put it more strongly, but I won't. But and just back to one of the things that we kind of touched on a minute ago, programs like Windows Defender, Microsoft Security Essentials, yes, they keep getting updated in terms of what they know to look for. But there are whole new methods of infection now that those older programs, in a lot of cases, don't even know about. So, yeah, you may have a program that's been around for 10 years and still has current definitions. They update them every day, but that may only be looking in half of the possible infection vectors. So,
gotcha. So
much as I like those products I named, I say there's no one that I would say is the 100% all the time, forever and ever solution. You need to always keep track of what's changed, who the new top sheriff in town is, or whatever.
Well, this is where it's hard, though, and this is, so how do we teach our customers this? Because here's the thing, I've looked at those different, things over the, month to month to month, and it seems like they change, and sometimes drastically. One of the top ones, and I like ESET, but one of the top ones will fall off the top of the chart because they had a bad month doing something, and it's like, so what, where's that point where you go, here's what I'm going to use, here's what's going to work for me, because obviously they're paying for it for a year, most of the time, sometimes 2 years or more, and you're not going to go, hey, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, we're going to change you to a different product now because this product is not doing what it needs to do, and there's a chance that you're going to get Cryptowall or something like that. So what do we do as technicians to, get that message out there and, have a good practice?
It's kind of like the same message of past performance is no indication of future results.
That's good.
If you're switching your investments around based on who were the top 10 last year, it's not going to be the same 10 this year.
Right.
And the same thing with the antivirus. And of course, there are a lot of testing organizations out there. 3 that are kind of the best known, and a couple of others that are pretty prominent too. And that's fine. You can look at those as a reference and see where they agree and disagree. But the only place, maybe not the only place, but by far the biggest source of my recommendations is how many computers I see that were infected that were running particular products. And so AVG and MSC by far are the most infected machines that I see. Now, in fairness to those, they're also a couple of the most widely used. And so percentage-wise, who knows, it may be the same as some of the other lesser-known ones. But the point is there are some that I rarely, if ever, see infected if they're running that particular product and kept up to date. And that pretty much includes Viper and all the ones that I mentioned. The Bitdefender, ESET, those do a good job. Now, you may look in the Virus Bulletin or avtest.org or AV Comparatives and see different results. Maybe they've got a pretty low score. But there are a couple of problems there. One is I'm not sure, especially for a couple of them, how independent they really are. There's at least one of them that is actually funded. In fact, they only make a big secret of it, funded by one of the antivirus vendors. And so I'm not sure I put a lot of credibility in them because of that. But the other thing is the methodology, because you're looking at really about three different aspects. One is the ability to recognize malware on the way in and block it from getting there. The other piece is to find infections that are already on there and get rid of them. That's a whole lot easier than recognizing it and blocking it on the way in. But then the third piece is the zero-day attacks, because as you know, the bad guys every day are finding new holes and coming out with new ways to exploit those. And there was a review recently, and I say review, it was an article that compared all of the significant players, and none of them over a period of a year had 100% detection and blocking. And there were obviously some better than others, but it gets back to what we were saying earlier. There's no 100%. And just to kind of wrap that up, the example I use, everybody knows about the big hack last year of Chase Bank, J.P. Morgan Chase. And one of the biggest breaches in history, and I forget the exact numbers, but in terms of number of compromised accounts, the whole works, it was one of the worst. In their annual report, they say we spend over $250 million a year on cybersecurity. We have over 1,000 people working in cybersecurity to protect your data, and they got hacked.
Right.
So what chance does a small business have, a law firm, a pizza shop, a consultant, or whatever? So all we can help our clients do is be as well protected as is reasonably possible within their budget. But there's no 100%.
Well, and the other thing, too, and Chris, I know you got something to say. The other thing, too, is that, you know, one of the things I've looked at is even if somebody has an updated running antivirus, I don't know that I've had any one product, and I've never seen, you know, there's a couple out there that I've never seen. I've never seen ESET come into my shop. So that might be one. But every one of the products that I get and I'm doing a cleanup on it, every one of them are infected. And so it's hard for me to go, okay, what's, you know, because I've thought about this for a long time, and I'm like, you know, I really need to pick the best antivirus out there, and it's really what I need to sell to my customers, and I need to stand behind it and that type of thing. But as a computer repair tech, it's hard for me to make that decision and do something like that. And I will tell you, I've used ESET in the past on my own personal computers, and I really like it because it's a light system and it catches a lot of stuff. You know, so.
Yeah, it's not as user-friendly as some of them, at least the versions that I've seen in the past. But it's effective. Does a good job.
And Chris, what were you going to say?
Actually, I was hoping to get an opinion on the Malwarebytes 2.0 and what you're thinking about that, because really the biggest thing that I've seen from that is that it seems to not like to update and break all the time. And I didn't know what your experience was with that.
There's still enough about the 2.0 that I haven't figured out. I knew the old one pretty well, and kind of the ways of dealing with different aspects of it, and some of the silly stuff. Like in 2.0, I still have not found a good usable log saying how long it ran, how many items it scanned and detected. I mean, that seems so basic. Surely it's there, but I go to logs and I just see here's the last time it was run, or something real basic and non-useful. Another thing that I thought was interesting when I first saw it, and I've gotten some more insight since then. Of course, with the previous one, you had the quick scan and the deep scan. And my experience had been that the quick scan found pretty much everything the deep scan did. With the new one, it's pretty much just one scan. And what I've heard since then is that the author has said that the deep scan, the old one, was just there for the paranoid people. That
Are you kidding me?
I heard that he was quoted as saying that there was really no significant difference. It ran longer and it made it look like you were doing more, but in terms of detection, and that is consistent with what I found. In fact, it happened in a period of about a month. I had 3 different computers that all quick scan on Malwarebytes detected over 700 infected items. A deep scan didn't find anything more. So So while my first reaction to the 2.0 was I didn't like the fact there wasn't a quick scan there anymore, that default scan still runs in about the same time, maybe a little bit longer than the previous quick scan did. And detection seems to be comparable.
What I've been finding mostly is that it's great for I'm doing a virus removal, so you know I'll run it because it does catch a lot of things. But people who bought Pro and they bought the version 1 Pro and they've asked, hey, can you upgrade us to the 2.0? No problem. I find that within 4 months they're calling and saying, hey, I can't update my Malwarebytes. It's not downloading the updates anymore, and they have to reinstall it. And I've gotten to the point now where I've provided them with the link to download it themselves and just tell them, like, hey, if you try to update Malwarebytes and the update fails, just click on the link and reinstall it, and it fixes it every time.
I have not seen that, but you're right. It's not a big deal to download it and reinstall it.
Well, and I use the 2.0 on my bench machine, which is sitting behind me, and I haven't had a problem. But I will tell you this, and because I connect a lot of infected drives to it, it seems like it does less. I mean, it will catch things every once in a while, but it seemed like it would catch a lot more stuff. Version 1.0, and I don't know if that's just different with the way things are being detected, or whatever. But I mean, I still use it as a cleanup tool, absolutely, and it works well. For cleaning up a lot of stuff. So it's hard to say. You're not the only one that I've heard that from, Chris. I've heard other technicians basically talk about that their customers, it's breaking and not updating, and nobody can figure out why.
Yeah. It's some weird database corruption, and I've never been able to explain to anything why it happens. Malwarebytes technical support has not been able to explain why it happens. So we're, and it's like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and charge you, $69 every time I'm going to do this. Here's the link. If that doesn't fix it, call me. And there's nothing else you can do.
Right.
So, it's gotten to the point now where a number of technicians, including myself, we've stopped selling the Malwarebytes. I still have lifetime licenses, and I'm never going to sell them because I don't want to have the customer feel that I'm responsible for the fact that this thing keeps breaking.
Now.
I'm sorry to hear that, and it's unfortunate because Malwarebytes is a good company, good products, and been around for a long time. And I had a unexpectedly negative experience with them in one particular situation last year. But overall, they're one of the companies that I want to see do well and like to say good things about. So and I don't have any direct connections there like I do with a lot of the other vendors. So I don't have any direct influence with them. I assume they know who I am and I'm out here, but it's not the type thing I can pick up the phone and say, hey, fix this or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's that, and it's the partner program too. And I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but the changes that they made to the partner program, it's like they feel that they're bigger than they are. And like I thought that Malwarebytes was great. I had Malwarebytes Pro on all the computers, in my office, on top of the GFI antivirus, because they worked well together. I haven't found that we've lost anything by not having Malwarebytes there anymore, because the Viper has gotten better at catching some of the things that Malwarebytes did. But it's just one of those situations where I don't want to have to keep on fixing it all the time. And I mean, the partner program became impossible to manage. It's just, we're done.
Yeah. Does it let you know that it's not updating anymore? I mean, is it in your face, or do you not know unless you're actually looking into the product?
Well, you get a yellow pop-up whenever Malwarebytes has an update, and it says, click here to download the Malwarebytes updates. You click on it, and then it starts to download the update, and then it says that it needs an update, and the version number never changes. So it's just this weird, like there's no errors or anything like that. It just keeps saying, no, you need to update me, no, you need to update me, and you never can.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good to know. I definitely will look out for that.
Yeah. But as I had mentioned, reinstalling it, you don't even have to uninstall the current version. Just download it, reinstall it again, and then the update suddenly just starts working again. So there's a file that gets deleted or that becomes corrupted or something that gets replaced when you reinstall. You
know what they call that, right?
Microsoft? No, what?
That's called a dirty install.
I'm sorry. This is a PG show, Jeff. Your kids listen to this show in the car.
It's a dirty install. I don't know what to tell you.
I just don't think your kids want to hear you talk like that in the car.
Anyways, all right. So there is a lot of stuff out there right now. Ken, if I can ask you a question, where do you see this stuff going? I mean, where do you see Cryptowall or the crypto? And you said, and if you can, do you know of the difference between 2.0 and 3.0?
Only a little bit. Cryptowall 3.0 just came out this week,
Okay.
And basically what I've seen of it sounds not that much different as far as what the user is going to see. It does require, like most of the recent ones, Bitcoin payments up to $500 instead of $300 and $1,000 after the time has expired. What seems to be the big change is the mechanism of how it's actually connecting to the servers. They've obscured it a little bit more. I frankly have not heard whether it's still as easy to get rid of the infection as the previous ones have been. I assume the encryption is done just as well as the previous types of infections. But one thing that I think gets misinterpreted sometimes is people talk about the different versions, different generations or whatever. These are generally completely different products. The payload is similar, the look on the screen and then the results of the user are the same, but in most cases it is completely brand new code that just happens to be written to do the same type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, in addition to that, a lot of these are being written in exploit kits. So the people that produce them are also selling the source code, and you and I could get into the crypto business for a few $1,000s and put our own name on it or whatever.
And for only a couple $1,000s more, you can also help to bring the casino ship out of the water so that we can have a casino ship. No, you know what though? From what I've seen, I haven't had a 3.0 infection yet, but from what I've seen and from what I've read, the removal process is very similar. So you don't really have to change a whole lot. The biggest change is the I2P connection with the infection itself and the way that it communicates. That's the biggest difference on it.
Yeah, of course, like any of these, it's, as I say, it just came out last week, and so in the coming weeks we'll be learning more and more and seeing more details, and then the different vendors will have their contributions to it. The other thing, Jeff, that I think is, and I kind of don't want to give these guys ideas, but they've got a lot of ideas anyway. But one of the people that's real active in the forums, LinkedIn, and one of the vendors is KnowBefore, which is started by a guy named Stu Showerman, who was one of the founders of Sunbelt Software, which is where Viper came from originally. And Stu is now doing, with KnowBefore, they're doing internet security awareness training end users to prevent them from getting spearphished and helping them understand what some of the exposure is. But Stu was the first one that I heard about projecting that the next step in the crypto-type infections is to go after the bigger companies. It's been mostly mom and pop, small business, home users, $300, $500. He said his expectation is that before long you're going to be seeing the multi-million-dollar ransom request or demands, and see how many big companies don't have proper backups in place.
And that's where things are going to get really interesting because you got. I mean, if they're doing what they should be doing, you have something like what Honda does, where they have, well, they got rid of their tape drives now, but they had tape drives that they would take off site, which I cringed a little bit every time I had to take those tapes out. But it was the backup to the backup to the backup, so it was effective because if you ever had to, one of the guys could say, hey, could somebody go get tape 42 because I need to get something off tape 42, and that's not going to get touched by anything, Cryptowall included.
Yeah.
But what we keep on moving closer and closer to these decentralized backups, cloud-based backups, multi-site backups, where you've got a centralized site, and as long as you have some sort of an offline backup, some sort of a secondary setup, it's not really going to matter how good they make Cryptowall because you can take the system offline and restore. But a lot of companies don't want to put the money into that type of a backup. So I mean, when we start hearing some big news ticket items where, Microsoft, as an example, pays like $3.2 million to get their stuff back because somebody forgot to turn off the external hard drive that they were backing up to. It's going to be interesting.
Man, it is getting a little bit scary nowadays that you're looking at a lot of these things that are happening, and I think it's one of those things where you really have to tell, especially your small businesses. A lot of times they will say, I don't have enough money, I don't want to do this right now, and you have to. I think as a technician, you have to come at them with, if you lost your data on your server, what would that do for your business?
Yeah. And
if they go, well, we couldn't operate, well then I don't care if I charge you $1,000 a month. It's worth it so that you're not out of business. because this thing can hit you one day and you're out of business the next.
Yep.
And you really need to understand that. And I think so it's really setting those expectations for what you're going to get from a service, from us IT professionals, that we're going to tell you, hey, here's what you need and here's why you need it.
But the funny thing, I had a client in December that called me when he got a blue screen, a 10-year-old Windows XP machine. He's got 10 years, his whole business is on there. And I said, what do you got for backups? Well, haven't done any backups. Now this is a guy, because he said, I've been meaning to get a new computer for the last couple of years. I guess it's time to go ahead and do it. And when it came to buying a new computer, I tried to, I always try to get him the most cost-effective. He said, I don't care. I want an i7. I want 16 gig of RAM. So the guy spent $3,000 on a new laptop. So it's not that he's afraid to spend $100 for a year's worth of backups.
Sure.
It's not just a money issue. It's a momentum issue, or a thinking about it issue, or understanding the importance of it issue, or whatever. So it's not always just about the money.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But that's awfully inexpensive insurance. And literally less than $100 a year for a Carbonite or Mozy or Crash Plan or whatever. Obviously, off-site backups, cloud-based backups, happening automatically in the background is what I'm recommending to everybody. Now, if they've got terabytes worth of data, then that's not practical as their only backup. But the point is, especially if you get into a larger user, then it's a multi-tiered, multi-layer type of approach that's required. But it's still just like Chris, I'm amazed at the people that aren't doing anything about backups.
Yeah.
And from the first day that any of us got a computer, that's one of the first things you're told. Be sure you back everything up. So you just can't fix stupid sometimes.
No matter how much you want to. And I mean that's a really good point. The only thing I'd be careful of is my favorite word when it comes to backups, which is versioning. Because without it, yeah, absolutely. Because without it, I don't care what backup you have. If you back up an infected file and you don't have a previous version to go back to, then you now have an encrypted file that you can't open, and you backed it up. So it's worthless. Now, Carbonite is
those generational backups. The -1, -2, -3.
Grandfather, father, son. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Most of the credible players like Carbonite, Mozy, and those do generational backups. And so
they do. Now the question at that point becomes, how easy is it to access it? And I am going to use Carbonite as an example because it's the only one that I have a real life example of, where we had a client who we were like, hey, you know what? We're doing SOS backup now, and here's how much it costs. Let's get you off of Carbonite and get you onto this backup. And they said no. They were happy with Carbonite, and they left it like that. I can't remember how long between the two it was, but they wound up getting hit by the crypto locker at the time virus. Their files were backed up after being encrypted, and Carbonite wound up spending a week getting their files back. Now, for a business, waiting that long to get their files back is not a good thing. And from what I've heard, Carbonite hasn't gotten much faster on getting those files back because the end user doesn't really have a good way of doing it.
And I had a similar experience. It was also the original CryptoLocker client that presumably like yours, at time wasn't a big issue. But I got on there and I saw how to get previous version of a particular file, but not for the whole folder or everything. Yeah. And so I talked to their support people and said, well, we can do that for you. So evidently they have a script or a batch file or something. And we told them a date and said, okay, we'll do that for you. And I think it took 2 days.
Yeah.
But that was on kind of a normal delivery basis. And I think if we'd been in a rush, or maybe for an additional charge or something, they could have speeded it up. But I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't offer us anything like that, and the particular client that I'm thinking of, they are self-employed. All their QuickBooks and everything that they did their invoices with that they needed to for on a day-to-day basis, that was all gone. And so they could work. They were working on paper, and at the end of the week, they were able to go in and put everything in. So it's not like they had to stop working. But I'm thinking of a bigger office and a bigger environment where you've got, let's say, 5 workstations, right? It's so easy for Cryptowall to jump from one system to another that you wind up with an entire network that's encrypted, and if you're using if you're using Carbonite to back up everything, and you have to wait for that, I mean, that could be even on your lower end 2-day that you had. That's 2 days where you're dead in the water.
Yeah, I do know they have an option to physically send you a hard drive with everything on it, obviously for higher price, and then FedEx you have it the next day. So that could be an option. And I'm not pushing Carbonite, but I was pleased with the outcome on that particular one. I think they've got some other possible answers depending on how critical and the timing issues.
Yeah, and here's hoping that they've made an improvement on it. I mean, I want to see all of these companies thrive, because if they're not competing with each other, then we're just going to wind up with high prices for everything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're going to improve their service, how long is it going to take for people that are writing these types of infections to figure out how to infect that service? And that's where I get scared. I haven't seen it happen. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But everybody's going to have to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the backup services themselves getting infected. They are already a lot of them are storing data for huge corporations, and they've got all kind of potential liability. They've put just about everything possible into keeping their system secure. So I'm not worried about them getting hacked. I won't say it couldn't happen, but I don't lose any sleep over it.
Well, in what a lot of people don't understand is there's, from my understanding, in a little bit of research that I've done, there's actually only one service, and I can't remember which one it is, that actually uses their own backup servers. Everybody else, including Carbonite and all these other companies, actually use, either Amazon's or, all these other backup servers. They don't do their own stuff. Nobody does, except for one company that I know of. So everybody's backing their stuff up in probably similar places, if not identically the same, right next to one from the other. But yeah, so, it's just one of those things that, and I think here's the other thing too that we do is a technician, I think sometimes, that will take a business and we'll try to give them a residential solution. And you can't necessarily do that because, Carbonite does, Carbonite is just an example. I know their system because I've used it for a while, but they have a tiered system where you can do businesses, you can do multiple workstations, all this kind of stuff. Like Ken said, you can they'll send you a hard drive for your initial backup, you back all your stuff up, send it back to them, and then they'll put it in the server and it backs up from there, and then if you have a problem, they pull it out, they can send you that hard drive, no big deal. So we really need to fit the service to who we're selling to. Yeah. I think that's important too. So not to use it's great that you can get, a residential service for, $50, $60 a year, but that's not necessarily good for your business client.
Yeah.
In Chris, yours is a little bit different. You're using the SOS backup, but you're also doing something on top of that. You have a managed service that is checking to make sure those backups are done, which with a lot of these other systems, if you don't have anybody actively checking them, they're probably not going to get checked. And if they do break, and I've seen them break, and you've probably seen SOS break where you have to, that didn't happen. Let me make sure that that's going to happen now. It happens. I mean,
yep.
I was trying to use what's the big one that you can back up your own stuff, and I'm trying to remember one of the other services out there. Anyways, I went to use it, and its platform is basically written in Java, which all of us know it's not if Java will break, it's when Java will break.
Yeah.
And Java will always break at some point or another, whether it's from a Windows update or whatever. So,
what you were talking about is the SOS managed secure backup, and that's, we're distributors, so we create reseller accounts and we sell our space to the techs, and then the techs sell it to the customers.
Right.
And there's an entire dashboard that keeps track of, did an update happen today? If it did, great. If not, is it just that we didn't receive any data? Is it that there was an error message? Because anything could happen, right? The software could stop running for some reason. Maybe the customer hit cancel. Maybe there was no internet or the computer was off when the update tried to happen. Internet might have cut out halfway through the backup. You never know. And yeah, so it's good to have somebody monitoring that for you if you're not good at monitoring it yourself. I mean, even at 80 cents a gig, like you're not going to back up your iTunes. Your iTunes is backed up on the iCloud. So I mean, when you're looking at 5, maybe 10 gigs worth of stuff that you actually have to back up on a standard residential PC, and that's where most of our backup sizes are. You're only looking at maybe $96 a year for a monitored backup. It's I don't know. That seems like a no-brainer to me when it comes to my kids' baby pictures and wedding photos that we're gonna have and all of this other stuff that you don't want to lose. That's nothing. Pay the money, keep yourself protected. I don't even understand why it's a question, but some people don't want to pay.
It's not just that. It's like antivirus too. I mean, there are good products out there that people should really have, and yet it is like trying to pull teeth to get them to pay for these products. So
I get it. And I mean, if you walk up to somebody with a $400 computer and tell them, for $350, we're going to do all of these things for you, and it's going to be freaking fantastic. And it is fantastic because it doesn't matter how expensive your computer was. It doesn't matter if you can just go out and replace the computer. That doesn't replace the data. That doesn't replace your time. That doesn't replace any of those things. So, yeah, I mean, hey, $400 computer, $346 worth of protection software. What's wrong with that? Right. Keep yourself protected. You can transfer your protection to the new computer if you ever have to replace it. But don't just, don't walk into the subway naked. You're going to get something.
Are you kidding me?
Really?
Why would you walk into the subway naked anyway?
Why would you be on the internet without antivirus and backup?
That's a good point.
Kind of a related issue to that is I got a call from a new client not long ago. Got a new computer, and within a week it was infected. Yeah. It came with one of these name brand antivirus programs, and so I cleaned it up and said, I really recommend a different antivirus programs. Well, this one's already paid for. And it's like if you went to the doctor and got $100 prescription, then 2 days later you were deathly ill from it, are you going to keep taking the rest of that prescription because it's already paid for?
Yeah.
It's time to recognize when you need to cut your losses and move on and then go to a more effective solution.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. And people get way too attached to what they've already spent money on. I can't switch antivirus providers because I've already paid for this one. Or, I mean, my absolute favorite, I don't understand how I got infected. I bought this computer 3 days ago. It was $1,000. I don't care. It didn't work. Like it's the money has nothing to do with what happened. So just I don't know. Sometimes it amazes me the conversations that we wind up having with customers, and usually it's because they don't know. I mean, they're not in the industry. They don't see these things happening day in, day out. So it's not something that I expect them just to know. But when you go to a professional, what's that?
It should just work.
Right. It should just work, and therefore I need to go out and buy a Mac because clearly the only way I'm not going to get an infection is if I buy a Mac. Hey, could you please tell me what this website is that keeps on popping up all the time? It's this website, and it keeps on popping up, and I don't know what it is. Oh, that's an infection. Yeah, those exist for Macs. But hey, I'm so glad that you spent $1,500 on a box that just replaced a Windows machine.
Yeah. Well, I've had people ask me before. They've gone, "Hey, what do you think about a Mac?" And I'm like, "They're fine machines. There's nothing wrong with a Mac." I said they're pricey, and I'll be honest with you. You need to pay for the Apple Care yearly because here's the problem. You can bring it to me, and there's a chance I'll be able to find the part and I'll be able to fix it, but they're so expensive to fix, it's not worth it. So you need to pay for – if you're going to have such a nice, that type of product, you need to have a service that goes with it, kind of like, I don't know, antivirus or whatever. So it's like you're going to pay for things one way or the other. It all depends on – how much downtime you want to have, all these different types of things in your life or your business. So.
Oh yeah, and trying to go to even like if I went to my grandmother right now and told her, hey, listen, I'm gonna have to take this computer away from you for a month, she's gonna lose it because she's not gonna be able to forward me any more emails that she gets from her sisters. So everybody that I know and that I've ever met, the thought of losing their computers for a couple of days is insane to them.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but then what is wrong with paying to keep it protected? I don't understand.
Right. No, exactly. I always ask people, I said, what kind of computing experience do you want to have? And even when they say, hey, I want to buy, XYZ laptop or whatever, and I tell them, I said, listen, you can absolutely buy a $300 laptop, and you're going to have a $300 experience. And quite frankly, it's not going to be too long, and your experience is going to suck. So here's what I recommend. Okay, what are you doing? If you're just checking your email once a day and maybe getting on Facebook once in a while, and it's a laptop and you're not going to move it, and you're just going to set it on a desk and leave it plugged in, then that's a perfect laptop for you. If you're going to move it, here's a problem with a $300 laptop. As soon as it drops once, I've seen them, they basically shatter into a million pieces, and then it costs so much to get an upper or a lower or anything plastic for that thing, or the screen screws have stripped out or whatever. I'm like, but if you spend $500 or even a little bit more, you can have a really nice, little bit more robust machine that's going to take a little more use and abuse. So that's but it is just trying to get those things across to the customer and trying to help them out, to help them to understand what the value to what they're doing is. And I always tell my customers, if you want to be up and running, here's the things you need to have in place.
Yep.
If you don't want to be up and running on a regular basis, then don't put any of these things in place, and me and your laptop will get close a couple times a year. So, anyways, well, do you guys have anything else to kind of end with? We're going a little bit long here, but good information.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Ken, I know you have a free webinar coming up, and if you could, why don't you tell the folks about that and also where they can contact you?
Okay. Well, the webinar is called Advanced Techniques for Virus Removal, and it's actually a two-part webinar. I'll be doing two separate sessions a week apart, and obviously the second session builds on the first, but it's all about ways of dealing with malware that are beyond kind of what the average tech typically does. Because most commonly when an average tech is dealing with a virus, they'll either do a bunch of scans and run for a day or two and may or may not find anything, or they'll wipe and reload, which is a horrible solution for most of your clients. And so in the webinar, I present my methodology. It's a step-by-step procedure for dealing with the stuff methodically and completely and getting rid of it. And so that first session is, and each of these will run about 45 minutes plus Q&A, so 45 minutes to an hour. At the end of the first session, I've gotten into a lot of the methodology and some of the major pieces of it and end up with a homework assignment. And so that's actually a video that the people that are really interested can watch and learn a lot more to be better prepared for the second session. And so the second session, a week later, picks back up and gets into more detail and kind of wraps everything up. So you have the dates and the times and the links to that, and so I assume that's, I know you've been putting it out there. Anybody wants to contact me directly, my website is thevirusdoc.com, TheVirusDoc, thevirusdoc.com. And there's a lot of free information on there, blog posts, not nearly as many as frequently as I'd like, but a lot of them. So anybody's welcome to go there, contact me directly. Of course, there's a contact us page on there. And be glad to work with anybody. Most of the people I work with are techs, people that are doing tech support for a living. Some in-house IT support people, but it's mostly third-party outsourcers. And so those are the people that tend to get the most benefit from a lot of what I have to offer.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, those dates are, I just want to let everybody know on the show, they're February 4th and the 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will definitely have a sign-up link in the show notes. I've had the sign-up link in there for the last few shows of Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, and also Podnutz Daily. So definitely, if you, like I've told you before, if you guys are interested in learning more, absolutely sign up for those webinars. I went to them, and I've learned a bunch. And I'm actually going to, take part in Ken's class, his 8-hour class, as soon as I get some time. But we're definitely working on that, and I definitely I'm in the mode of learning, and I always want to learn more and have a better understanding of what I'm doing as a tech. I don't want to be just the tech that throws tools at something and says, "Oh yeah, that kind of works." Yeah. And I want to know what it is I'm doing, and kind of going back to what we were talking about before. A lot of people don't have to know what an IRQ is, and they don't have to know how to deal with it. But there are things that are coming down the road that I really think people need to have a better understanding of. So I appreciate, Ken, you bringing that to us and offering us that free webinar, because I definitely learned some things out of it, and my whole thought process on doing virus removal has changed.
Great. Happy to hear that.
Good. All right, and Chris, go ahead and let people know what you're all about and where people can find you.
I'd love to, but I can't figure out what IRQ to use. All right, so yeah, my name is Chris. I am the owner of Remote Support Tech Team. We provide white label support for IT companies. So if your customers need some virus removals, we can do them for you. So feel free to give us a call, 888-496-2641, or you can go to our website, which is www.rstechteam.com.
Yeah, and definitely, guys, check out Chris, and he's definitely a help in the computer repair field, especially for helping you out as far as being able to do some things for you that you might not have time for, and so that you can grow your business and move on from there. So he's got
spend some time with the family, go on vacation. Yeah. A lot of people going on vacation right now, actually, but that's them.
This is a good time of year to go on vacation because where I'm at it's very cold. So.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm taking the family to Florida to go to Disney. Oh, well, that's fantastic. We'll answer the phones while you're gone.
Thank you very much.
In the meantime, I'm gonna go shovel my driveway. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, definitely check that out. And you guys can find me over on the Google Plus at Jeffery Halash or Twitter at TechNutPC. And if you're a computer repair tech and would like to be a guest on Podnutz Daily, we always are looking for new guests. Please email me at podnutzdaily@podnutz.com, or even old guests. If you got something you want to come on and talk about, please contact me. If you'd like to feature your product or service on this show, please email me at podnutz@podnutz.com. And you can leave a voicemail on the same number that we use for the call-in show, and that is 1-888-697-0162, and we will definitely play it on the air. If you guys can do me a favor, leave a rating and review over on iTunes. Kind of like this guy did here. I'm assuming it's a guy. It says, great resource by Anthrax077. It says, the show and its guests are an invaluable resource. Getting to hear from others in the industry has been amazing. I look forward to every episode and hope to feel confident enough to contribute in the future. Thanks to those who do, especially Jeff, who has been the perfect host. I don't know about that, but thank you. I appreciate that. And you guys can also help support the Podnutz Network next time you're shopping at Amazon. Go to podnutz.com/Amazon. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. Very cool.
Okay,
good show, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Everybody else is going.
Yeah, we're still on the air, so I just stopped the main recording for the audio.
They can still see us.
So don't say anything weird or anything like that.
I'll try to behave.
Kind of like what did you say? Naked walking into a what?
Subway.
Subway.
Don't walk into a Subway naked. You're gonna catch something.
Wow.
Yeah. Is that a Subway sandwich store or the Subway train?
There's a difference?
Yeah. One you can eat, one you can ride on. That's all. That's the only difference I know.
Oh.
Anywho, well, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, good show today. Good topics. Glad you were able to cover some definite things that always interesting to me. I just think it's as viruses are growing and changing, it's just going to become, like you said, Ken, worse and worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, which in a way is good for us, but.
No, as long as we keep up with it, that's the main thing.
Right. Yeah, and letting the customers know so that at least when they come back and go, well, why did I get this? Oh, here's why. Because you told me no.
Here's, and really, I mean, I'm dreading the day when we wind up with viruses like back in the day when it would just wreck your system.
But I don't think that's a moneymaker. So I believe that's why they don't do that anymore.
It's not a moneymaker, but the people who were doing it in the first place weren't doing it to make money. They were doing it because they like to mess with people. So it's not like those people don't earn out there.
No, but there is actually a twist on that. Of course, we've all heard about the calls from India. Your computer is infected, and I can show you.
Yeah.
And what a lot of those will do, as soon as they connect, they'll go ahead and plant something so that if the user says, no, this is a scam, I'm not giving you your credit card, and hang up on them, then next time they reboot, they've got a password.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? I got to say that it's a lot of fun having remote wars with these people too. I don't know if you've ever done this, but I do all my stuff through remote support, and we had a Microsoft scammer that was still in the computer when I got connected to it. And 3 people controlling a mouse makes it very difficult to do anything. So at that point, it's whoever's quicker with shortcut keys to kill the other service wins. And luckily, I knew what log me in was, and I knew which service to kill. I don't think that they knew what instant house call was at the time because they didn't get me first.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real
good. Completely sidetrack here. Instant house call. I think that's what you normally use, Chris?
Yes.
You like it?
I love it.
Okay, good. This is, that's good information. Thank you.
Why?
It's
the same one I use too. So.
Well,
why?
Just completely non-public information here. But part of people that attend my workshop get is free software from other vendors that have stepped up and said we want to support what you're doing. And I have had a conversation with Instant House Call about bringing them into that category.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Very cool.
So, again, that's absolutely not public information. There's no commitment on their part, but it's we got off to a good start, and we're going to be following up this week.
We told you they can still hear us, right? I'm just making sure because I'm not liable for this.
Corey Fruitman's a great guy, so he's definitely a mover and shaker in the business, and just constantly bringing in what I think is the easiest product that I've been able to use as far as remote software thus far, and I've used a lot, but I really like him, and I like what he's doing, and he's real. He likes to engage with people, which I think is awesome. He likes to engage with his customers, the community, and he's always. I believe he always gives more than he takes. So he's
well. He made a real favorable first impression on me, and of course we've known of each other for a while, just through the LinkedIn threads and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But when I reached out to him, he got right back, and it's off to a real good start. So
good.
I think that's going to happen.
Sorry to cut in here, guys. I do have a 5:30, so I have to sign off. But great show.
Yep. Sounds good, bud. And I think I'm going to stop the broadcast anyways, so we'll see you guys next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Same place, same time. See you then.